Universal law number 4, the law of alignment. MultiGen Mindset Institute. What is alignment? Does it even feel good when you hear the word, or when you speak the word alignment? Even it comes out of your mouth smoothly. Obviously, the opposite of alignment is misalignment, or being out of alignment. Can you be a little out of alignment, or must you be all the way out of alignment? Can you be out of alignment in one area of your life and be in alignment in another area of your life? I find that defining alignment means that in each area of my life, when I think about that area of life, I want to ensure that that area of my life, I am living to the highest of my divine capabilities, my human capabilities. You break life up into categories, and health, wealth, happiness, and love are the 4 primary categories. Your health is your fitness and your nutrition and your sleep and your sexual health. Wealth is your income, your credit scores, your assets, your cash flows, your condition of finance. Happiness is your well-being. How satisfied, how ambitious are you with who you're being at the moment. You know, we're all being somebody at each moment in time. And alignment means that at each moment, in that moment, and the moment that you're sitting in now, that you're most and more in alignment with the highest version of yourself than not. And we have to define alignment and say, is it something that we forcefully do? Do I forcefully get myself into alignment? Is that what discipline is? You know? And, sometimes our thoughts, or our actions betray our thoughts, right? Sometimes, we get into misalignment and then growth happens. And due to the growth, it gets us back into alignment. So we try to, when we find out that we're not living up to the standards that we'd prefer to have for ourselves in a certain area of life, we want to judge ourselves and feel guilty, and we should, because that is divine discontent. Divine discontent tells us that we're uncomfortable. It tells us that we're out of alignment. It tells us that we're not in the right place, that there's something wrong. There's a warning going off, right? We're not going to the gym. We're not eating right, or we're not earning enough money, or whatever that urgency is of being out of alignment. There's all these noticings, right? If it's not just completely manifested that, you're having an issue in a certain area, then there's this pull and this tug that just pulls on your heart where you can't really have peace because there's something you're not confronting and acknowledging and dealing with. And that's fear versus love. And that's fear versus love and courage. It takes courage to notice and take responsibility for when we're out of alignment, because we get comfortable where we're at, and then we start getting these ideas and this noticing, so maybe I need to get a different job, or change conditions, or move apartments, or get out of this relationship, or look for another relationship. When it comes to needing to make changes in our life to get into or more into alignment, that's where we have to confront certain things, and that's where it gets hard. That's where we might not be able to see the hindrance, and we have to rely on those that we love, or going to somebody that doesn't know you at all, like a coach or a counselor or a doctor, and sitting down and saying, what is your perspective? Because it's with the perspective alteration. When our perspective changes, what we're looking at literally changes, or we're able to see things that we didn't see before. And this is growth, and this is the path. It's discomfort to more comfort, and then discomfort to more comfort, and discomfort to more comfort. And that discomfortness is when you start realizing and gaining the awareness that there's areas of your life that if you put attention on, your experience of being human would be better. In MultiGen Wellness, we see this every single day, that men and women and husbands and wives come in struggling with sleep or libido or sexual health or their mood, and having a general sense of happiness and seeing the green in the trees and the orange in the sun and the pink in the sunset, right? And they come in and they want to enhance the way that they feel and the way that they live, because we all want more, right? Alignment comes with being out of alignment, and it's that out of alignment condition that causes us to take responsibility, have awareness, take responsibility, confront, deal with, handle, and alter something in our life that we're not happy with. We shouldn't get down on when we're in the valley or when we're in a condition of misalignment. When we wake up and realize, holy crap, I'm in the wrong city, or I'm in the wrong relationship, or I'm in the wrong There's always something that you find, come to an awareness of, that is incorrect or ethically incorrect in your life, that's causing you karmic disruption. The disruption, there is a scripture in the Book of Mormon that I adore. I love it. And it's, not to quote it verbatim, but it says, if you would have followed my commandments, your peace would have been like the flowing river. And it says something else, but it's just, I contemplate that when I'm having disruptions, or there's misalignments or discomforts or conflicts that arise, and I need to put attention on those things. And if I were to just give the attention to the thing that it requires to be dissolved, match it energy for energy, then I would get my power back. We often find at the end of a struggle that the struggle wasn't near as hard as what we anticipated it to originally be. And so we go against this dragon and this demon, this thing that we're fighting in life, this accomplishment, this goal, this target, this thing that we're trying to overcome. And then we acknowledge it. We say, hey, I got to confront this thing. I need a change in this area of life. I got to confront it. And you go about fighting that thing. And then once you beat it and you're on the other side of it, and you look back and you're like, wow, that actually wasn't as big as I thought that it was. And then you have a sense of grief for a second in your joy, because you realize that you should have did this a week ago, or a year ago, or 10 years ago. It's often that we push things off that give us our deepest joys. And if we would just confront that thing and deal with it on the other side of it, the joy and the peace that would flow would not even compare to the little bit of effort that it took to resolve that conflict in our life. And the law of alignment is here so that we can enact the law of alignment on these areas and say and declare, I'm declaring the law of alignment over my life, and I call my mind into order, I call my affairs into order, I call my relationships into order, I call my finances into order, I call my house into order, I call my health into order. And you start taking stock and inventory and getting each little category of your life aligned, and then every day you begin to progress more and more, and cumulatively you become better and better and better, and your tone rises, your vibration rises, you begin to stop repelling things and you start attracting things, and then you see that magic happens and unfolds every day. And being in alignment is, there's this scripture in the Bible that says, there's two of them and they go together. Jeremiah 29:11, for I know the thoughts that I have for you, for I know the plans that I have for you, and these are plans to give you hope and a future. That's Jeremiah 29:11. The second verse is, God can do far more than you can ever ask, think, or imagine. And how that's shown up for me in my life is that I'll get a vision, right? I'll get a vision for a business or a service or a book or an article or a video or um, or an adventure or to travel or to hire a coach. I'll get an inspiration and a divine inspiration for something, and then I'll begin, feeling out, for that thing, and then I'll start getting structural plans for ABCD of how to enact that thing into the reality that I'm sitting in. Because right now it's just a thought in my head. It's just this divine idea. Get a new relationship, get out of one. Get a new job. It's these changes that we call forth in our lives that increase our experience of being human. They're in just a few core categories: your health, how you feel, your sleep, libido, sexuality, your wealth, your money, your income, your savings. Are you living paycheck to paycheck, or do you have more than you need? Do you have so much that you're able to help others? Because that's the full cycle of happiness and joy and wealth. You don't have to be extremely wealthy to get enjoyment out of wealth, but if you get to the place of abundance where you have more than you need, you can begin to donate different places and help different people in different ways. And that is creation, receiving, and sowing back, which is the cycle of life, which puts you into an alignment. That's the law of tithing. And it seems like when we're dealing with interacting with life in all these different areas and improving them one by one, there's all this resistance, because there's the way that you are now, the habits on a moment-to-moment, day-to-day basis, sunrise to sunset, work, weekends, the things that you most often are doing. In order to change our lives, sometimes we dramatically need to change some of those habits in order to bring alignment into these areas. And when we have kids and a husband and a wife, it's difficult, because you got to pull others into the vision of the new change and improvement that you want for you and your family. You sit your wife down and say, we need to make $20,000 a month to live the way that we want to live. And you set a target and a goal for you and your partner, whether it's $10,000 or $5,000, $50,000. You and your wife say, this is what we want to earn, and this is how we want to live, and this is where we're going to go to church, and this is what we're going to believe, and this is the organizations we're going to associate with, and these are the groups that we're not. And you begin getting things into an alignment in your relationships, right? There's a gym on every street corner, and there's no reason for any human, unless they have a gym at home, to not have a gym membership. If you live in a society like the everyday American, you should have a gym at home, a gym in your apartment, or a gym membership. 30 minutes a day, or an hour, 3 hours a day is all it takes. We feel so much better when we start with the vessel that we live in. I know that there's scripture verses and ancient texts that speak about the body being a temple, and to care for that body. And the more you care for that body, the longer it lives and the healthier it is, and the more energy you have to sow back into your loved ones and your family. And this is alignment. You can be wonderfully in alignment with your diet and your health and your relationships, but then mismanage your money, and because of that, it causes a disruption across all the other areas of your life. And when you're standing in an intersection and there's cars going all around you, and you feel like there's chaos and you don't know what to grab onto, and there's something that you need to get into order, and you know that, but you're just tending to your day-to-day, moment to moment as you move through life, and it's so hard to slow down and get a grip and say, hey, what is out of alignment, what is not? And the law of control means that all you have to do is grab a hold of the nearest thing, the easiest nearest thing to grab a hold of and put into order. Maybe it's picking up your room, maybe it's straightening up your desk, or cleaning up your office, or doing the dishes. Maybe it's washing your car. Anything positive that can get you on to the next and on to the next, to get that momentum, that culmination of good action, of good action, of good action. There's this methodology of methodology of numbers and actions and statistics. And there's a law called the law of averages, which means that if you throw a baseball at a tree 10 times, it's a chance, it's a high probability that you're going to hit it at least a few times. And it's a high probability that the more times that you throw the baseball at the tree, the more times you're going to hit it. Right? So this is it's the law of practice, and the law of averages means that the more actions that you take toward a certain goal, the more statistical chance and logical chance you have of achieving success towards that thing. And sometimes the law of alignment means that you have to start taking physical actions towards that goal, that thing, that person, that imagination of who you are. The funniest thing about making an implementation of a change of like putting in a gym membership is that there is a first step. The first step is opening up your phone, going to Google Maps and typing in gym near me, right? Find out where there's 3 gyms and then call each one of them and find out which one's got the simplest and most understandable gym membership, month to month, simple, boom, right? $40, you're in there, and go for 30 minutes, and it's these actions towards, the simple momentous thing that you can do towards it. The smallest thing can count. Tony Robbins speaks about that the thing that people want is to feel progress, and that there's a correlation between progress and happiness, and that if you can achieve some progress towards feeling better, that you will inevitably feel some joy and achievement and gain some energetic momentum towards the thing that you desire, and that it increases and it increases. So there's a scripture verse where I believe it's King David says that he had gotten down and depressed. He was facing an insurmountable odds, or he had experienced a deep loss. And he said that he went into prayer and he started encouraging himself and the Lord. And one translation can loosely be, the way that I like to describe it, is he encouraged himself in his imaginations, his vision of what God put in his heart for himself and his life and his kingdom and what was to unfold. In his imagination, he encouraged himself and built faith. And that is the life force that is within you that comes alive the more that you come into alignment. The further away from alignment, to less and less, not only willpower, but life force that you have and that you can draw upon towards the things that you're working at. And these are steps of action, small little steps: straightening your desk, washing the dishes, or going to the library, doing your research on how do you start a company, or how do you do this, or how do you start a book, or just opening up a Word document and putting chapter 1, or calling that family member that's been urging and pulling on your heart, and taking that action that you've been pushing off, addressing it, confronting it, not running from it or acting like it's not there. Oftentimes in a normal day, the simple steps that we need to take in order to feel just a little better each day is really so small that it's half of what it is that you imagined the effort to be. Just getting some shorts on and getting the tennis shoes out and putting them on, and getting your headphones and a bottle of water and starting the timer and going out and taking a couple jogs around your block and doing that first effort towards a better condition. That is the simplicity of changing your life.